Welcome back to The Marketer's Mindset, the podcast where we talk about how to create and sustain a powerful mindset to help you build a successful online business and lead a happy and abundant life. Guys and girls, I am super excited to be talking to today's guest. He started his sales career at the age of 15 by answering an ad in a local paper for a telemarketing position, and in just 3 weeks, he became the company's top salesperson. By the time he was 16 years old, he knew that all he wanted to do was sell. So he dropped out of high school to pursue his dreams and started working as a cold caller for a local stock brokerage company, in which he became one of the top lead generators at the firm in just under a month. This highly ambitious youngster cold called for the next 2 years straight because he was too young to take his Series 7 and 63 exams, which are required to sell stock. So shortly after his 18th birthday, he took and passed the exams and spent the next few years becoming one of the most skilled closers in the stock business. After the recession of the early 2000s, the company decided to move into the mortgage business. He struggled at first, but eventually, once again, became the top producing salesperson at his firm. By the youthful age of 24, he had become one of the most well-known phone salespeople in the industry. Deciding to break away from the telephone sales and wanting to learn how to sell in person, he made another career pivot and walked in cold to a local car dealership, asked for a job, and got it on the spot. In an industry where coffee is for closers, he was also told that he had 3 days to sell a car, and if he didn't, he'd be fired. Using his sales skills he already developed, he managed to sell 4 cars in his first day, breaking the record of 3, which had stood for 10 years. As a true entrepreneur, always growing and taking on new challenges, this maverick left the car business to start publishing and selling information online. If you are no stranger to the Warrior Forum or Warrior Plus, then you will know today's guest. Over the last 5 years, he and his business partner have gotten 38 Product of the Day awards in a row, and were nominated twice for Product of the Year. He's the founder of LeadLoop.net, a company that helps medium-sized businesses generate qualified prospects and close more deals. In March of 2017, he created the results-based sales system to help salespeople fill their pipelines and close more deals by providing their prospects with a desired result before asking for the order. To date, results-based selling has helped over 1,000 salespeople and entrepreneurs generate more leads and close more deals. And through his seminar trainings and live streams, he has helped over 100,000 salespeople, entrepreneurs, including high school and college students, since 2007. Please welcome the master salesman, diehard Islanders hockey fan, and fishing fanatic, Kenny Cannon, to the show. Kenny.
I'm here, man. Thanks for having me. That was some intro. I like that guy.
Did you like it? He's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think I need to
like
get him on
guy.
the show next. I loved researching you. I'm familiar with your products. I've bought yours and Cameron's products, a few of them, especially the offline ones, and then I got your most recent one. And I got to tell you, it's solid stuff. Your information is great. The stuff works, and you guys just have a no-nonsense approach. So I appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to this conversation today.
Well, thanks, man. I am too, and that's part of the key to my success pretty much my whole life. It's you have to deliver on both ends, but I believe the sales side is more important. So that doesn't mean that it can be bad, because it can. It has to be great. If product is bad, you end up getting in trouble, like all of my stock buddies did.
Right.
But if sales is the most important thing, because if you don't have sales, then you don't have anyone to serve. And if you don't have anyone to serve, there's no point in creating anything to serve them with. So
exactly. No, it's so
and it's 39
important.
in a row, because we just got this one.
Oh, congrats.
That's all right.
Congrats. That's awesome. And in a row, that's amazing, bud. Because there's so many launches out there. I mean, you got to have good stuff to get that.
Well, you got to have both sides of it. You got to have good stuff, and you got to have a good sales process, and that's really the key. And I like the guys at Warrior Plus. I know Shane personally. Mike's a good guy. It comes down to numbers for the most part. They do look at the product, they make sure it's good, but at the end of the day, if the numbers aren't there, the numbers aren't there. So again, it comes down to, is the product converting? Is it selling? Are people buying it? And that's really what it is. So sales, again, most important thing. Doesn't mean you can create garbage. You can't. You got to create greatness all the time, but you got to be able to sell it as well.
Right. Now, researching you, I went through some videos and some different interviews and stuff like that, and I found a few things that we have in common here, bud. We're both from New York. Mm-hmm. However, you're from Long Island, and I'm about 7 hours north of you from Buffalo.
Okay. So, I hate New York, but Buffalo's a lot nicer than Long Island is.
Oh, you think so?
Well, yeah.
It's been a while since I've been there, so I wouldn't know.
It's kind of like North Korea down here. You know what I mean?
North Korea. We're both hockey fans.
I'm a gun guy. I'm an outdoors guy. I like to fish. I like to shoot. I like to hunt. So I'm not. Long Island's just not my deal.
You'd love it in Arizona then. There's tons of fishing and hunting. You'd have
Arizona's beautiful.
You'd have a blast. Up north, you'd just have a heyday, man. We're both hockey fans. You the Islanders. I got both the Sabres and the Coyotes, who I don't brag about because I know I think the 2014 and 15 seasons, the Sabres came in very last in the whole league those 2 years. So they struggled, but I know the Coyotes are going to play you guys, I think, October 24th.
Yeah, the Coyotes are pretty terrible, but the Sabres are going to be pretty decent. I mean, they have Kyle Oposo back. Kyle Oposo was an Islander for a long time. They should have kept him. He's a great hockey player. Jack Eichel's amazing. He's probably one of the best players in the league. They have a really good young up-and-coming core. I think Matt Molson still has a little bit left in the tank. Their goaltending issue is a little bit of a problem, but I think they're going to be pushing for a playoff spot this year, and they'll probably, if they don't make it this year, they'll definitely get in next year. And I think the other team, too, is the Toronto Maple Leafs. They're a cup contender, and it's amazing. Their turnaround is absolutely mind-blowing. They were last place 2 years ago, and now they're, a cup literally a cup contender. They may end the three-peat from the Penguins. So that's the only competition.
Good acquisitions, good coaching combination, or what?
Great management. Lou Lamoriello, probably the best active GM out there. Mike Babcock, best active coach out there. And Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, Nylander, however you say it. They have a good young core. Nazem Kadri. They have a lot of good guys, and they have decent goaltending. And that in the NHL, it's really top heavy lines. This is my philosophy anyway. Top heavy first two lines, top six, good D and good goaltending. You look at the Penguins, that's how they built it. They have the Crosbys, the Malkins, the Kessels, good top heavy lines, good defense in Letang. They had Orpik for those years as well, and they always had good goaltending. Fleury, and now they have I forget his name, but the other guy that took over for Fleury when he went over to Vegas, who's in there. So yeah, I mean they're gonna win it again if Toronto. I think Toronto's the only threat that they really have.
Well, it's nice to at least they get another one that's going to go in there and maybe take it from them.
They just have to be careful because if they get four, then they're going to start. The Islander legacy is going to be tarnished.
Oh, no.
So they got to slow down. The Islanders they 4 in a row. It's a big deal. 19 straight playoff series.
Oh, yeah, that is. It's like my bragging rights with the Bills is 4 Super Bowls in a row. Never won one, but 4 in a row.
They made it, yeah. 4. I remember they lost to the Giants one time. I'm not a big football guy, but I remember the guy missed the kick or something.
Yeah, they should have won. That was the only one they should have won. The rest of the games, they weren't in it, but that one was a kick wide right and gone. They could have won that.
Yeah.
But and then also we both got our Series 7 and 63 licenses. I got that out of college and did some work in mutual funds. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
so,
I got a 71 first try.
Nice.
And you know what I heard? I heard the better you do, the worse off you are in the industry.
Yeah.
So they were if you get a 70, 71, 72, you're good. If you get 100, we don't even want you. Go be an analyst.
Yeah.
I don't want to be that.
That's not. You want to barely pass the thing or just pass it enough to get in there and get trained and get going. You don't want to be the book smart guy that just sits in the office and not calling. So, nice. Now, you had a start. It's amazing looking at this. I didn't know that you started in sales at the age of 15. I mean, that's pretty crazy. Did you grow up or come from an entrepreneurial background?
No. And to be honest with you, I never wanted to be an entrepreneur, and I still don't today.
Really?
I mean, that's not. Yeah, I don't really even consider myself. I mean, I own businesses, so I guess I kind of, by definition, I am. But I'm a salesman. That's it. I sell stuff, and I'm just lucky that that's the number one thing that determines whether a business is going to be successful or not. As far as the sales things go, no, there's nobody in my family that's an entrepreneur in business or anything like that. I saw the ad. It said unlimited income potential, no experience wanted. And I was like, all right, whatever.
So was it
best I
natural?
can explain it. What was that?
Was it natural to you to come to the sales, or did you struggle a lot at first and have a mentor that kind of took you under his wing, or how did it come about?
Well, everyone's a natural salesman. That's number one. Number two, no, it wasn't the transition between the natural salesperson that's built into everybody and the business salesperson that's not was hard. It took 1,000 calls or so for me to break through that, but that was 3 days. I mean, the internet people are like, 1,000 calls, that's going to take me 6 months. Yeah, in the internet world. In the real world, that's 2 days of full-time work or 3 or 4 days of part-time work. You're on an auto dialer, you're running through, and if you don't do 400 or 500 calls a day, you get fired. So it was 2 or 3 days. I struggled with the pitch like everybody did, but then all of a sudden I just hit it. And I got it. And I started to learn, when I got out of that business and I got into a real company, I started to learn things like tonality and pace and future pacing people and the psychology behind it and why people buy stuff. And that's really when I started to take off.
Yeah, that stuff's interesting. That's what I love on there. What did you learn in there? What was some of the psychology things that we could share, and that's someone that needs to do, maybe they're doing consulting and they do a lot of phone appointments to get clients stuff. What's some of the things you could share that would help them with tonality or pacing and get them up?
One of the biggest things, number one, is that you always focus on the result that the client wants as opposed to the thing that they're getting. Chet Holmes used to talk about this all the time, the benefit of the thing, right? Or the benefit of the benefit. So I tell people I sell SEO all the time. I know nothing about SEO. When I sell it, I don't mention Google, I don't mention ranking websites, and all I say is, listen, I'm going to get more people through that door to put money in that register. How I do that doesn't matter, but I'm going to do it. And then I just give it to an SEO company and they provide the service and I can take a little cut of it. So the point is you have to sell the result that they want. That's number one. Number two, you always sell based on experience and status. Meaning, if I'm going to sell a car to someone, I'm not going to say, I might mention air conditioning, power windows, power doors, right? But what I'm going to really harp on is, let me ask you a question. What is your neighbor going to think when you pull up in a brand new car? See, now I'm getting them I'm putting them in the experience of ownership and the status level raise that it brings them when they buy a new car. We are in a status-driven world. That's why Facebook is so popular, Instagram so popular. That's why a couple can be at each other's throat ready to kill each other, and when it's selfie time, they act like they're the best couple in the world because they're showing it off on Facebook. We need to improve our statuses all the time. So if you can incorporate that into your sales thing, your closing ratio is going to go through the roof. That's the only reason why people buy stuff, no matter what it is. Either status or experience. That's it. They're trying to increase their status in life or experience in life. That's from a pack of gum to a house. That's the only reason why people buy stuff. Those are the only two reasons.
And it doesn't matter big or small purchases, just like you said, from a pack of gum to a house. Add more zeros to the end of it. It's still the same psychology. That's
a great way to put it. The product doesn't matter. And saying that, people will usually come back and they'll be like, oh, so that means you're telling me to sell garbage. No, what I mean is that you sell a pack of gum the same way you sell a house. Now, it may take longer to sell a house, but in order to sell a pack of gum, you need to find someone who wants a pack of gum, number one. Number two, they can afford it. Number three, they can make a decision right now. They have the authority to say yes or no. To sell a house, you need someone who wants to buy a house. They have the authority to buy a house, and they have the ability to make a payment. So those three things are still there. They're looking to improve their status and experience in life. Whether that's because their breath smells bad and they want a pack of gum, or because they want to have a bigger house to show off to their friends, or they have a bigger family, or whatever it is, they're all looking for the same thing. They're using a different product to get there, but the process they go through is exactly the same. Buying a pack of gum is faster because it's a no-thought process purchase, but in the back of their mind, they're going through the same process.
So do you think people just overthink the sales process and make it more complicated? Why do so many people struggle?
Are you asking about salespeople or people that are buying stuff?
No, salespeople. Why do they struggle so much? Like, they dread to pick up the phone. They don't want to talk to somebody. They got all these different fears. But what you just explained there, if people would just understand the process and what the end result is, and what I love about you, Kenny, is you know how to break things down into this simple form, so it makes it nice and easy. But what holds people back if that's basically what the goal is? Why are they struggling so much?
Well, they're struggling, number one. The number one reason why they're struggling is because they're not picking up the phone and dialing it. That's the number one reason why. And then I'm being theoretical, right? It could be knocking on a door. It could be emailing, whatever the process is. They're not prospecting. That's the number one reason. Their pipeline is dry. All right. And the reason why their pipeline is dry and they're not willing to pick up the phone and dial it is because they're deathly afraid of rejection. The reason why they're deathly afraid of rejection, again, is because we live in a status-driven world, and they feel like when they get smacked in the face, their status gets knocked down, and the other guy's status is higher than theirs, and that's uncomfortable. See, for me, I can call a plumber, and I've had this happen all the time, right? I call a plumber, I cold call the guy. He's like, get a real job. I'm like, dude, I make your yearly salary in a month, bro. I mean, stop. You know what I mean? You chose to work in sewage all day. I'm sitting in my living room. I'm going fishing in an hour. Okay, so stop. So I don't get bothered by the status stuff, but that's the reason why people get afraid of it, because they feel like the $10 an hour telemarketer when they're sitting in their home cold calling SEO or web design or whatever else, and that lowers their status, and they get depressed about it, so they just hang up the phone and they stop doing it.
That's a good point there. I never thought about that they look at the status of what they're doing. So basically what they're doing is they're looking down on sales, and it's just it's holding them back. They're looking at it as a I don't know if you want to call it dirty, maybe like a used car sales type of thing.
Right.
Instead of
they're looking down on the
high,
highest paid profession in the world.
Right. And I mean, nothing, we kind of talked offline before on this. And like you said, nothing happens until you get that sale going, and you got to fill up that pipeline. So you need to get selling appointments, and then you need to take those appointments and turn those into sales by selling. So
right. And I hate to say this, but, 5 years from now, maybe 10 years, if some people are lucky, the only thing we're going to have is salespeople, doctors, and police officers. So unless you want to carry a Glock 19 or you want to go study medicine, you better learn how to sell stuff. Because if you think you're going to be manufacturing stuff in the United States, in Wisconsin, in 2030, it's not going to happen.
Right. No, I agree. Everybody's got it. They totally need to switch how they're thinking of business and making a living. Yep. It's just going to change so much. Now, did you always have this confidence when you started out with the calling, or was this something you developed, or did you just have that attitude that, hey, I can learn this, I don't think it's a bad profession, and I don't care if people say no to me?
Well, first of all, I'm not a confident person, and that drives me crazy when people say that. Yeah, and it's not your fault. Everybody says it. But I believe, I'm going to steal a little Tony Robbins stuff here. I believe that competence is confidence. So I'm confident when I'm talking about selling stuff because I know it. But if we broke into a baseball conversation, I'd sound like a moron. I don't know anything about baseball. So I'm not competent in that, so I wouldn't be able to talk about it. But when we talk about sales and growing businesses, I know that so well that I come off as very confident because I know a lot about it. Now, when it comes to the telephone and sales and making money and increasing your income and all that stuff, that's just a drive to win. It's not really about the money. It's about the drive to win. So I was telling you offline, we did a webinar today, the day of this recording. Last night at midnight, me and my partner came up with that idea to do that. And the only reason why we came up with the idea to do that is because I posted on Facebook, and you can go back and, because me and you are friends on Facebook, you can look at this. I posted on Facebook the other day a screenshot of my stats, and I said, I'm the best at what I do, and I'm not hiding it anymore. And then somebody posted a screenshot of their webinar stats that showed $17,000 in one day. So I said, okay, now we're doing a webinar tomorrow. We're going to beat that. We did 35 in an hour and a half. The only reason why I don't care about the money. I did it because I wanted to show that guy who really is the best at what they do. It's a drive to win. I played hockey my whole life. When we lost, I broke my stick. I threw water bottles. I punched glass. It wasn't because I had a temper problem. Everybody thought that's what it was. But it was because I just could not stand losing.
So it's that competitive drive in you.
That's all it is. And I'm lucky because I applied that somehow, some way. I found a way to apply that to an income stream. But the income stream, honestly, is really just a byproduct of my competitive. I want to win, and I want to destroy everybody in my path.
Now, is that something somebody can acquire? I mean, maybe not to your level, but if someone's more timid and afraid of doing sales, do you think they can kind of gain that confidence?
Well, I think, again, I sound really harsh in this interview right now. That's okay, though. It's real.
I want to know your opinion. I mean,
but here's the thing. I truly believe that everybody has that in them. And I know that sounds crazy, but I believe that everybody has that drive to win and that drive to be competitive and that drive to be right. Because, here's a great example, right? You come to someone and you're like, oh, I'm not a salesperson. I can't sell anything. I'm so afraid of that. I'm never going to do it. And let's say we rewind to last October. And then you say to them, well, you don't want to sell anything. I get it. what do you think of Hillary Clinton? Or what do you think of Donald Trump? And all of a sudden, boom, he's an idiot. He hates these people. And they're selling you on something.
Right. It's so true.
Right? So it's not necessary that everybody has that drive to influence other people to get them on their side. But they can't make the transition to the business world. See, that's the difference. My grandmother's not a saleswoman. She's 80 years old, 75 years old. She can barely walk. She has two knee replacements, all this stuff. She's the last person you think of as a salesman. But if she has a book that she knows I'd like, or my sister would like, or whatever, got to read this book. Buy it on Amazon. Here's the link. I'll send it to you. I'll email. She becomes a salesperson. Right? But she can never transition that into a cubicle with a phone and a headset. It's not that we don't have the ability. It's that we have a very hard time transitioning it because we feel that when we get rejected, our status gets lower. And my grandmother knows I'm not going to reject her. I'm not going to say, get out of here or go, sew something. Or like, I'm not going to throw her out the door. You know what I mean? But in a business world, that happens. And people get beat up and they don't like that.
It's like that. Did you hear that one book? Andrea Wentz, I think her name is, or Waltz. Her and her husband wrote a book, and I think they co-authored it. It was Go for No. And I think it was more launched towards network marketing people that are out there and stuff like that. But that was basically the concept, was not to be afraid of the no and to go for the no. And I think that's what you brought up is so important. If people would just get over that, I don't know if you want to call it ego or whatever, just that worried about other people rejecting them when they're saying no, it's not a personal thing most of the time. You know what I'm saying? They're not saying it because they hate you. They just, the standard thing. There's not enough information. You didn't hit their hot spots. There's more reasons it's not you personally that they're saying no to most of the time.
Right.
Would you agree?
I live for the no. I agree 100%. I live for the no because the only way to get to a true yes is through a no. Okay? I'm going to give a very good example that everyone's going to understand. If you walk into a bar and you're a single guy, you're 25 years old, and you walk up to a girl and you say, hey, let's go home. She says yes, it's not a girl you want to marry. Right?
Right.
Okay, so if I call a lawyer and I'm like, hey, the price of the product is $1,500, he's like, sign me up. That's not a client I want. Because he's saying that to everybody. Right? I want the guy who says no to me 50 times. And I got to rebut him, and I got to box him up, and I got to close him, rebut, and box, and close, and all over. And then he hangs up on me, and I got to call him back, and he hangs up, and then I got to fly to his office. I want that guy because nobody's getting through to him. Right? Everybody else is giving up way before I do. So if I can close that guy, I have a client for life. If I close the other guy, something wrong, it's going to be bad. He's going to call me 5 times a day. He's going to refund. Something's going to happen. But if I can get through to the one guy that says no to everybody else, I have a client forever. As long as I treat him right, obviously.
Now, do you think it's your mindset that you treat it more as a game? Is that why you're able to go for those no's and not let them affect you and say, hey, bring on 50, bring on 100, I don't care?
No, I think it's skill.
Really? Okay.
Honestly, yeah, I think it's skill. The easiest way to get to yes is through a no.
Right, but most people mentally hold themselves back from going through that process of 50 times. You know what I mean?
Right, but I don't think that's a mindset issue. I mean, maybe. I think that's a skill. They don't know what to say when the person says no.
Oh, okay.
That's the problem. So if somebody says, and then they also don't know the difference between prospecting and selling stuff either. That's another problem we could talk about. But if somebody says no, I'm not doing SEO right now because I'm focusing on Facebook ads, right? Let's say that's their objection. If they say no and they give me that reason, and I say, okay, Brian, so basically what you're telling me is just so we're on the same page. If I could do everything that I promised here at the same exact price, get you the same amount of leads, the same amount of profit in your pocket, everything is the same. The only difference is we stay away from SEO. We do 100% Facebook ads. You'll do the deal right now. Is that right?
Sure.
I can't get there unless he says no.
Yeah.
Right? Now, the other thing, too, is they don't know the difference between prospecting and selling. If somebody says to you they don't have the money, that's a prospecting issue, not a sales issue. If somebody says I got to talk to my partner, that's your fault for not understanding that both of them have to be there to make a decision when you go to the appointment. So a lot of the stuff that people hear, they come to me all the time. They're like, how do I get over this? It's not a sales problem. It's a prospecting problem that most people have.
I love it. That's key. That's so key. And so who's ever listening here, if you're a consultant or you deal with offline clients, that was a huge distinction there that Kenny made. And you need to work on, if you're getting those rebuttals or those objections, you need to work then on going through your prospecting, not your sales process.
Yeah.
So that's key there. Now,
Almost every objection that you hear is a prospecting one. It's usually not a sales one.
that's the first time I've ever heard that. I love that. I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, like I got to talk to my wife. That's a prospecting issue because the wife should be there to make the decision with the husband. I don't have the money. Well, if you're selling a $2,000 a month SEO package to a Chinese restaurant down the road that probably makes $5,000 a month total, you're an idiot. You're prospecting wrong. And that's just the way it is. You got to sell that to a company that makes $50,000, $100,000 a month. Right? So it all comes down to that. If you're selling SEO to someone who already has it and they're happy with it and you know that and you're still trying to sell it to them, that's a prospecting issue. That's your fault.
Right. No, that's so true. Now, how important would you say mindset is to one's success? Just in general, in their business, not just specifically selling, but in their business and in life?
Well, as far as I think mindset is the biggest threat to our society today.
And what do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, the only reason why we have people rioting in the streets and throwing glass through windows and killing each other on the road is because they have the wrong mindset.
So true.
Because people are dying to be the victim because that's the easier way to live.
How did we get there? I mean, it just seems like there's so much of it now that, I mean,
I think a lot of it has to do, again, with, I hate to keep bringing this up, but I think a lot of it has to do with Facebook, Instagram, and all that stuff because it's attention seeking. A lot of it is technology. Listen, people know if I go out right now in my Jeep Wrangler and I drive across somebody's lawn and a cop pulls me over and I pull out my phone and I go, I have my rights, you can't stop me, and I record that whole thing and live stream it, I'm going to be on the news, I'm going to be on Drudge Report, I'm going to be all over the place. I'm an instant celebrity. And that's what they want the status. It goes back to the same thing. They want the high status. They want to be known by everybody. They want to be the rock star. Even if it's for 10 minutes, they want to be the rock star. So they throw glass through a window, they protest, they run people over with cars because that gets their name in the headlines. Even if it's for a little bit and it ruins their whole life, it gets them in the headlines for a little bit. But it still comes from a place of victimhood. And there are real victims out there. I'm not saying there's not, but by definition, a victim is a loser.
Yeah.
And you can't live that way.
No, you can't. And it can be turned around, but it changes. You need to change your mindset to do that.
Right.
Now, there's a lot of controversy. I hear a lot, and I saw a Mike Rowe video on this. What is your thoughts on yeah, Mike's cool, man. What are your thoughts? I don't know if you saw this video, but when he talked about not following your passion, do you
100%,
think someone
100% with him? It's the worst advice you can ever get.
Explain.
It is
Go ahead.
by far the worst advice you can ever get.
Really?
Yes. You do not follow passion. You follow money. Period.
So what would someone do that now sometimes you can follow your passion where there's still an ability to make money.
Not enough.
So I mean,
not enough.
Not enough, huh?
Nope, never. Here's why. If you're not doing something that other people hate, you're always going to be broke. I mean, give me an example of one that is not just true, right? Amazon. Everyone hates waiting on lines in Walmart. Right. That's why Amazon's successful. Everybody hates having products that get delivered to them that come home and they suck. Well, Amazon is very successful because they implemented the review system that gave people trust in their purchase, right? Everybody hates riding in taxi cabs. Uber is very successful because they focus on something that everybody hated. So if you focus on things that everybody loves, you're not going to be where you want to be financially. And I don't think people can survive on 150, 250 grand a year. It's impossible, especially in New York where I live. It's impossible. You can't do that. So like I love to fish. That's my passion in life. That's what I love to do. Well, the best guide in Montauk, his name is Bill Wetzel, the best guide in Montauk probably makes 100 grand a year. Huh. And he sleeps in a truck and he doesn't see his family. I mean, he's a great guy and he's great at fishing. He's following his passion, but he's pretty much broke and he lives out of a truck. It's a miserable life. I decide to do something that I don't hate it, but I don't wake up saying, yay, I get to cold call all day. Like, I don't do that. But I get to do something that is extremely profitable, makes me a ton of money, and I could do it for 5 or 6 hours a day, and I can go fishing whenever I want, guilt-free. Because I'm doing something that other people hate, that I'm really good at, that puts a lot of money in my pocket, and it frees me up to do my passion whenever I want for free.
Now, do you think you could have taken the fishing passion and turned it into like info product and done well?
No, the only time that ever happens is if it's a parenting thing, really, in my opinion. And the only time you can really turn your passion into profit, like a serious profit-driven thing, is if your parents start you off when you're a toddler. That's the only time it can ever happen. And I've seen it. I have friends that did it, so I've seen it happen, but it's very, very rare. And basically, what I'm talking about is like the guy who makes it to the NHL. You're not making it to the NHL if you start at 16. You're making it to the NHL, though, if your parents smash you in the head when you're 5 and all you do is shoot pucks and skate all day.
Right.
Well, maybe you won't make it, but you have a chance, right? But those are the only guys that actually follow their passion and make a really good living doing it. The other people are either lying to you or trying to sell something to you.
I love it. You don't hear that opinion. And that's why I wanted to bring that up, because it's so controversial. You hear all these memes and all this stuff about follow your passion. And then Mike Rowe comes out saying that, and then it just starts up a whole conversation on it. So
yeah, well, Mike's right. And you know, the people that say that are wrong. But I think that a lot of times people will say that, and the other side of the conversation will take it the wrong way. I don't believe for a second that when Tony Robbins says you have to follow your passion, he thinks that the guy or girl who is passionate about pumpkins should start a pumpkin blog. I don't believe that at all. What I believe that a guy like him is saying is you need to do something that's profitable, that's going to let you survive. But you have to bring your passion for life and helping other people and living a successful life to whatever vehicle is available to you that you're good at. And I think a guy like Mike Rowe would agree with that.
No, you just nailed it right there, buddy. That's the main thing, and that's what I've thought about when I was thinking about this passion debate, if you want to call it. The main thing is, what you just nailed, I think, is exactly what Tony means about it. Bring your passion to serve others in whatever you're doing. Because Mike Rowe will talk about it. He says, I've met people that do sewers for a living. They didn't go into it because they love sewers, but they had a passion to help people that were, maybe they started a 24-hour service because they knew, hey, this is something that really needs to be taken care of. And if I can provide this and nobody else is doing things after hours, I'm going to serve these people. But I'm doing it through sewer. And I think so many people get caught up. They want that pretty looking job or that fancy looking job or that title that they can go out to a party and say, oh, I'm own a mortgage company or whatever it is. I'm on Wall Street, something that has a big name. I'm a lawyer. But if they went out and just followed their passion as far as serving others, you could do it digging ditches or plumbing or whatever it may be. So I think you nailed it right there. I think that's an important point that needs to be put across when you discuss following someone's passion.
Right. And I also don't understand, somehow we lost the passion for being the man of the house and bringing home the money. We lost that, number one. We lost the passion of pride in work, doing a good job, whatever the job is, whether you're building a fence or you're running a company, whatever it is. In the 50s, 60s, 70s, we had that. I wasn't alive then, but my parents tell me we had it. I don't know. They could be lying. But back then we had it. Now it's like people are just like, oh, I just want to do what I like, so I'm going to go get a gender study degree. And then they complain when they don't make any money.
Yep.
I'm like, listen, you're stupid. You got to follow the money. Passion, again, unless you're bringing your passion, that's a different discussion. Bring your passion to what you're good at and what's profitable is a different discussion than what, I don't want to mention any names, but some people who are very popular in the wine business, or they used to be, say follow your passion, and if you like acorn, start an acorn blog and you make $60,000 a year and you retire. That just doesn't work. And right. I don't see anyone really doing it.
Yep. No, it's true. It's just it's another thing that people, it goes back to what you were saying, Kenny. People want that feel-good attitude. So they want to put the perfect picture on Instagram and the perfect post on Facebook and make them look like their life's perfect and stuff. So it goes with the same thing. If someone tells you that and you're like all happy that you can make $1 million selling acorns and that's what you love, it's fluffy. It makes you feel good. But people are afraid to tell them the truth that that's not going to happen.
Right. And I'll also, I could take some fault in that. I'll openly admit that part of that is my fault because, listen, I train salespeople and I never train them to lie to people. You don't have to lie, by the way. It's very easy to sell something to somebody without lying. You can mind F them so they could buy from you without lying to them. But it's very easy to just sell them what they ask for, right? People are asking for the laptop lifestyle, living on the beach with a martini and all that stuff. That's what they're begging for. So it's very easy to put a sales video up promoting that and then have people buy it and then give them something completely different. It's easy to do that. It's the wrong thing to do, but it's easy to do. So I think a lot of people are doing that as well, and that just feeds it. Because one person on a forum or a blog or whatever sees a sales video like that, and then they go on Quora and answer a question, and they say, yeah, follow your passion. That's the best advice. And then that gets repeated on a podcast, but none of these people have ever actually built a business. They've never done anything. They're just repeating each other over and over again.
Right, and that's the big difference.
Yeah.
That's huge there. Now, like I said before, you said you don't feel that you're that much of a confident guy. So I'm sure you probably experience this. Everybody does at times where you have that self-doubt or that, what I like to call like the monkey mind people refer to. You have that negative chatter. Right. And me and a buddy talk about this too. We'll go out to breakfast every now and then. We call it little mastermind meetings where we'll sit and talk about business and different things. But like sometimes you'll come up with a great idea or you're fired up about something that you're going to launch, promote, whatever it is. You go to sleep, you wake up the next day, you're talking less than 10 hours later or whatever, and all of a sudden self-doubt and stuff comes in. Do you experience that from time to time?
To be honest with you, I experience it every time I do a new project.
And how do you deal with it? How do you push past that to get yourself to take action?
I don't know. That's a good question. I'll tell you this, though. Every single time I put together a sales video, every time I put together a webinar, every time I do any kind of thing like that, I think it's going to fail every time.
Really?
I thought that sales video that you watched and bought that product, I thought that sales video was going to be terrible. If that converted to 10%, great. I would have been happy. And the funny thing is every time it's 15, 20, 25. Every time it works. But I always think it's going to be bad.
So what keeps you going then? What makes you... Like the thing is, and this is one of the things that I found from interviewing people and stuff, and a lot of the successful people, and maybe this is what it is. One of it might be your competitive edge, how you like competition and stuff. But I found out that the people don't let fear hold them back. They use it as a motivator. So they look at more the fear of loss. If I don't put this out there and I don't get this message out and I don't sell this product, right. They use that fear to motivate them and push them forward instead of using fear of like, well, what are people going to say? You mentioned earlier before when we talked offline that you thought maybe you crossed the line on parts of it and stuff like that. So some people will use that to hold them back, but the most successful ones are using that fear to push them forward. Is that what you think you do?
No, because I wouldn't really describe it as fear. My mindset and thought process is more along the lines of, okay, what's the worst case scenario? The sales video converts at 5 to 7%, and I still get a 750 to 1,000 sales on the product, and I still make 10 grand. Whatever. That's the worst that could happen. That's a bad launch, right? If it's a good one, it's 2,000 and I make 20 grand. So the same thing on a webinar, right? If the webinar bombs and I do 5 sales on it, if there's 200 people in the room, okay, it's still 5 grand, right? I mean, whatever. It's not great. And I always think they're going to be terrible, but that's always the mindset. Like, what's the worst that could happen? Even if it's terrible, it's still better than just sitting here and watching Sons of Anarchy for the 18th time, which is great. I mean, I would do that in a second, but you know.
Overfishing?
No, not overfishing. But Sons of Anarchy is the greatest show ever.
I knew that.
But no, that's really my thought process. Like, you know, the worst that could happen is that it bombs, but you're still going to make a little bit of money from it. And if you don't, you build a list. And if you don't build a list, you build a JV relationship. Something good is going to come out of it. So,
what's one of the biggest challenges you've had to face being an entrepreneur?
Being an entrepreneur, everything outside of prospecting, pitching, and closing deals.
Really? Okay.
I can't provide to save my life. I can't do customer support is the worst. If I did customer support, I'd have a 50% refund rate. I'm just bad at it.
That's why you partnered up. So you got that.
Yeah, and we hire it out a lot too. But I'm a lot of people respect me because I'm straight and to the point. But sometimes I get too straight and to the point, especially with a $5 buyer who's already on the edge. You know,
right?
I can't deal with it.
That's got to drive you nuts.
Yeah, well, especially when I get an email at 2 a.m. I get a refund request at 2 a.m, and then 2:30 they're telling me that they're going to call the FBI if I don't send them their dollar back from the downsell. I mean, I'm like, listen, first of all, I'm sleeping. Second of all, it's $1. Third of all, I'll get to it within 24 hours like I promised in the membership area. That kind of stuff drives me crazy, and I can't do that. I can't do that with a $5,000 a month client either. It also drives me crazy. It's not about the money. I just don't like it. I hate it. So, again.
Yeah, but I think.
Go ahead, sorry.
No, what I was going to say is what you said earlier is that those $5 people are going to drive you more crazy probably than the 5,000. You probably find it more in the low ticket items where you get more of that than you do on the high ticket items, right?
Yeah, it's more you're definitely going to get there's no reason to sell low ticket stuff unless you have a completely scientifically proven model that will absolutely destroy it every time. There's no reason to sell a low ticket stuff. You should be selling high ticket stuff for everything that you sell.
I agree. I know, who was it? I think I'm trying to think of the marketer's name now, but there's a couple of them out there that definitely talk about that. The same thing, and it's kind of what we talked about. It's adding more zeros to it. And I think so many people are afraid to sell.
You know what it is, too?
Sorry, go ahead.
The problem is when you sell, let's say you have a $17 product, right? I do it on Warrior Plus because I know everybody there. I know I'm going to get WSO of the day every time I launch a product. I know all the JV partners. And I could just walk in there and I could do 2,000 sales whenever I want. I'm not bragging. I've just been doing it for so long, right? Here's the problem, though. If you have a $17 product and you don't have those relationships and you start to go on Facebook and get traffic or whatever, you have to be so perfect on the Facebook ad, on the landing page, on the thank you page, on the sales page, on the email sequence. If you screw up any one of those, you're going to lose money. But if you have a $2,500 product, you can be average on the ad, below average on the thank you page, average on the sales page, and you're still going to make a killing because you only need to convert 1 out of 100 people to make money, or 200 people, 500 people, whatever the numbers work out to be. So that's the thing. If you pay $5 a person to come to your page, which would be ridiculous, you should quit Facebook ads if you're paying $5 a person. But if you're paying $5 a person just for easy numbers, and you convert 1 out of 100 at 25 people, at 2,500, you're still making $2,000, and you're a crappy salesman if you can only convert 1 out of 100.
Right.
But on a $17 product, if you have $3 per person coming to your page, you need to convert like 1 out of 3 to break even.
Right. Exactly.
So the low ticket products, everybody thinks that's a good entry point. No one will ever buy a $5,000 thing from me. I'm going to create a $17 thing. It takes more marketing skill to do a $17 thing right than it does a $17,000 thing right.
And that's what people don't get. And I think that's so important that you send that, is that they're afraid of the high ticket items. They think they have to sell the $5 and $7 products. And like you said, unless you got a killer funnel that's been tested and proven, which is only going to take, unless you're taking somebody who's done it for you, it's going to take money and time to go through and tweak that. You're going to be losing money.
You will lose money every time, pretty much.
There's no way on there. So, no, I'm glad you brought that up because that's so important. I think a lot of people are afraid of that, and I think they need to add big ticket items, whether it's their own product that they're creating, and don't undersell themselves, value more of what they're selling and put a bigger price tag on it, or find products that you can sell or services that are in a higher ticket level.
Right. Well, that's a good point. It doesn't have to be your stuff. I mean, if you're going to drive Facebook traffic to it, you probably should be. But I sell SEO all the time, and I don't even know what like anchor tags are or anything like that. I don't know any of that stuff. So I just give it to somebody else. But yeah, the best way that I would suggest, if somebody has the money to do it, it's going to cost a lot of money to do this. But if somebody has the money, this is the best way. And this is kind of how I started in the high ticket business. Mm-hmm. Buy a couple other ones. Like if you, I know everybody doesn't have $10,000 laying around, but if you have like 3 or 4, if you have a couple $1,000s, you can get a hold of high ticket products from other people. Buy a couple of them. And the reason why I suggest that is because when you do buy them, you're going to realize how crappy they are. And you'll be able to make your own, all that fear will go away.
And that's so true there. And that's funny because I'm sure you've done that. So you've seen what was out there, right?
No, I cheated a little. I got lucky because I became friends with Mike Filsame and I had access to all the products that he had access to. So I was able to look inside of big marketers' products. And I don't want to name anybody's name, but a guy who used to surf with long blonde hair, I went in one of his biggest products and I was like, dude, come on. Like, how do you sell something? Create more products. Like, that doesn't even make sense, bro. You can't. Yeah, that's ridiculous. And that's when I was like, I could do this and I could do it better. I may not be the big name and the face and doing the state of the internet address and all that. I may not be that guy, but I know I could provide better content, and I know I could tell it better.
And that's all that matters.
Yeah, and that's really how it started. And that's real too. Like if you can get access to them, however you could do that, whether you're buying them or you know someone who bought it before in the past or whatever, and just watch what those other people are doing. Most of it is really bad.
Yeah, and they still sell this stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when the quote unquote syndicate was big, and their whole thing was 40% refund rates, 60% didn't refund. That was it. That was their game. You know, yeah, they got 40% refund rates, but 60% kept it. So that's the mindset. And most of the products out there are pretty terrible. And if people have a fear of creating the $5,000 thing or the $3,000 thing, again, you shouldn't have that fear because most of the stuff is terrible. And I could prove that to you by having you go out and looking at some of it. Because once you do, you'll realize that it's garbage for the most part.
Now you've come across and you've interviewed and you've worked with, like you mentioned Mike Filsame, you've worked with him on projects and stuff like that. What is one of the best piece of advice you ever got? From
like the internet people? Or
no, just from working in business, whether it was your days in sales, someone mentored you or trained you or gave you a piece of advice just throughout your career. What's one of the best piece of advice that you got that's just really helped you from when you got that to where you are today? That's been like a guiding principle or an advice or
there's two things that'll stick out in my head. The first one is always, I said it before, always focus on income. Money is the most important thing in the world. That's number one. Number two, know when to shut up and listen.
That's a key one there.
Yep. Because I'll give you a great example. I was selling phones when I was 15 years old, and I was doing well. I mean, I wasn't killing it, but for a 15-year-old, I was killing it. When you beat the drug dealers in your school, that's pretty good. And I was doing that.
Oh, that's a good top dog then.
Yeah, I mean, I was doing pretty well. But I was confident and I was cocky and I thought I was really good. And then I walked into Stratton and I was like, whoa, this is a different game. You know, and I remember sitting down with a guy named Rob. I worked with him for years after that. But he was my Series 24. He was the manager of my little crew. And he had me say the first line of the pitch, and he gave me the piece of paper, and I was like, hey, this is Kenny from Stratton out in New York. How you doing today? I said it like 3 or 4 times, and he's like, you're doing it wrong. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. And he pointed to the paper, and the first word of the script was hi. It wasn't hey. And he was like, you need to say this word for word. And he pointed around the room, and he was like, all these people here, 18, 19, 20, 21, they're all millionaires. And they all said those same exact words you're saying right now. Do not change anything. And at that point, I learned to listen and shut up and just do what I was told.
That's a huge piece of advice there. And I've done sales too, and I actually worked for, I don't know, how old are you, Kenny?
35.
Okay, you're young. There was a, I'm trying to think of his name now. He did, you might have seen it or heard about it, but he was big for tiny classified ads. He did a lot of infomercials. He was out here in Arizona. Don Lapre, that's it. I had the I should say privilege, because I don't know how legit some of the stuff, but I actually worked for him for probably about 9 months.
Right.
And I got to go in his office, and I'll tell you, that guy was a machine. He would go in there and he'd put a script out, and he'd give it to like maybe 10 or 15 of us. He goes, guys, I want you to run this. We go in his office, he'd sit down. I want you to read it word for word. He had a recorded message of him. So you would get someone on the phone. They had already bought his little ad product or whatever. Now he's upselling, to other bigger packages. And you would get the person on the phone that had already bought a previous product, and then you would play that message for them. And his thing, I'm telling you, Kenny, was like 12 to 15 minutes long.
Yeah.
And you'd get back, and some people would be gone, obviously, but there would be people that were still on after that long recording. And then you would close him with this pitch that he had. And then he'd come out maybe 3 hours later. Guys, I've changed some stuff. And he was always testing. But his key was read it as I wrote it. Read it verbatim. Don't change a hi to a hey, like you said, or don't add an extra word that's not there. Read it how it's written, because this is what works.
Did he ever give you any advice on why that's so important? Because people always seem to have a problem with that. Like when I tell them that they need to do that, I always get resistance.
No, I didn't get we didn't really get, it was kind of like sit down. There's like 10, 15. It wasn't more one-on-one. I wish I could have got there and picked more of his brain,
Right.
but it was just kind of neat seeing behind the scenes there. But no, share what your thoughts are on that.
I don't know his motivation behind it, and I don't really know the motivation behind it in the companies that I worked at. But the motivation behind it with when I train people is that the words in a pitch really don't matter all that much. They are important, but the way that you say the words is so much more important than the actual hey and hi is not going to make a difference. Okay, right. But here's the key though. If I have 20 people that I'm working with and I'm training them on every pitch that I have is one page. So and not including rebuttals. So if you have a one-page script and I have 20 people and each one of them saying hey, one of them saying hi, one of them saying hello, right? And then I have another guy saying something else. And then as we get down the script, they're all like putting in their own little words here and there all the way throughout the whole thing. I don't have a uniform sample. And I can't figure out what the problem is because they're all saying different things. So if I have everyone saying the same thing and everyone's getting hung up on at the same spot, I know there's a problem with that line and I can fix it. But if everyone's saying different stuff and they're all getting hung up on different spots, I don't know what the problem is. It could be their tone, it could be their pace, it could be the words.
Right.
It could be the list, it could be a number of different things.
No. Yeah, because that's a constant. That's something that you can control and say, hey, if you say it this way, like you said, all right, now read it to me. And I can say, oh, okay, your inflection on that word was wrong. You went too high on that. You dropped your tone there, which is a negative. You know what I mean? You can really do it. But I think that's the only purpose is to get the consistency because, one, they probably tested it out and it's made sales. And it probably converted good. So they know that what they're saying or however they're saying it is do it. Now I can teach you to say, okay, go up on this word, pause at this one, say this slower or whatever. But everybody's saying the same words. And like you said, it's not becoming 100 different scripts now where you can't regulate it or control it or get consistent results.
Right. And the other thing too is when you open up a phone call, I'm just like randomly talking now. When you open up a phone call, always never ask how you doing. The question that you ask when you open up a phone call on the first line is, can you hear me okay? The reason why is because if you ask how you doing, it's only going to start the conversation one of two ways. It's either going to be a lie or it's going to be negative because 99% of people are miserable. So if you talk to a plumber who's making $60,000 a year, whose wife probably hates him, his kids hate him, they're probably half on drugs, he calls you up, he says, oh yeah, I'm doing great. He's lying to you. You don't want to start a relationship off on a lie. If he tells you the truth and he says, my wife hates me, my kids are hooked on heroin and they're in the hospital, now you have a problem. So I always just say, hey, this is Kenny from XYZ Marketing Company out in New York. Can you hear me okay? What is he going to say? Yes. And I move through. Number two, never ask for permission. So when you're talking to someone, never say, can I have 2 minutes of your time? Never say it's only going to be 60 seconds. Go. If he picks up the phone, he has 2 minutes to talk to you.
So true. Because I know I don't pick up the phone unless I know who it is. So if I'm picking it up, I've got time for whoever it is. So
yeah, and that's what people do. They say, again, it comes from a point of weakness, and I know people are selling sales training programs that cater to what people want, and it goes back to the same thing we talked about before with passion and all that stuff. People want the easier way, but it just doesn't work. So they try to soften it up because they're so afraid of rejection, where they say things like, you know, if you give me 60 seconds, I promise not to go over the time limit. And I've never asked for permission in my life. When I ask people questions, I don't say, you have time, I have a couple questions for you. A couple quick questions, see if it would be a good fit. Question 1, 2, 3, and boom, 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 I'm right through it. I don't mess around with asking permission for anything. I just go. And I think that...
Yeah, but don't you think...
Go ahead, sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead. No, finish what you were saying.
I was just going to say, I think that when you ask permission, it comes from a point of weakness. And I go back to the original thing that we were talking about, which is experience and status. In that conversation, my status level has to be above his. If it drops below his, I can't recover from that and I lose.
Yep. I agree. And that's what I was going to say. I think it comes from control. You need to control the situation. If you're asking all the time permission and being, like you said, you're on the weaker end, you don't have control of the conversation.
Right. Like I look at it like if a plumber comes to my house to fix my toilet, he's not going to say, do you have 3 minutes so I can look at your, like he's coming here, my place is flooded, right? He's going to come and do it. He's the I'm not going to question him. He's the guy. Like whatever he says goes. And I need to create that same type of atmosphere with the things, with the words that I use, the way that I use the words, and the pace at which I speak to control that conversation and always make sure that I am positioned above him in the status level. I don't want to come off as arrogant or way above him. There has to be a connection, but I don't want to come off beneath him or at his level either. Like if I want to invest in real estate, I don't do that. But if I want to invest in real estate, and this is a terrible example, but Donald Trump calls me and he's like, yeah, I heard you wanted to, like, there's no connection. He's too big into the game, right? So that's too high of a status jump for me. But if I wanted to invest in real estate, being a business person, if a high school kid calls me who knows nothing about business at all and is broke, he's below me, even though I know nothing about real estate. But if the local real estate guy who buys and sells houses, maybe 2 or 3 a month, if he calls me, he's just above my level, and I can create that. He can create that connection with me, and I can say, okay, that step is reachable for me, and I can work with this guy. So if the step is too big, you lose it. If it's below you, you definitely lose it. If it's at your level, they don't need you. So you have to make sure you stay one step above wherever they are. That's another reason why everybody says they have to become the expert. You just got to be better than the people you're teaching or talking to. You don't have to be the expert at anything. I'm not an expert at anything. I'm just better than most people at 2 things: prospecting and selling stuff. That's it. Everything else I'm terrible at.
But if you know enough, like you said, you're always going to be probably ahead of somebody.
Right.
So at that point, you are the authority.
Right.
Because you do know a little bit more.
You got to find that person or that group,
right.
that audience, really.
But then it goes back to what you said. You're prospecting. So if you're not hitting that audience, then you're not prospecting right.
Well, prospecting, listen, 80% of my day is prospecting in one way, shape, or form. 80% of my day I'm prospecting. So it's not always cold calling people or whatever. Most of the time, it's actually not that, believe it or not. Most of the time, it's, okay, let me make a list of 20 potential JV partners. And let me reach out to them and see if I can put something together on an email, or maybe we could do a webinar together, whatever. Sometimes it's cold calling, right? Sometimes it's calling a chamber of commerce and seeing if I can get a connection with them so I can get some of the deals for whatever it is. I'm trying to bring in new business. I'm trying to throw up a pipeline all the time. And that's the main focus, and it should be of every business. Nothing else really matters, but the pipeline is the only thing that matters. If you prospect effectively, sales will come naturally.
And I love that. You mentioned that earlier. I think it was kind of at the beginning or offline on that how important it was to prospecting, getting the right audience that you're speaking to. What advice would you give someone, Kenny, that wants to reach out, like, for example, to maybe someone that's an influencer, or maybe they're trying to connect and maybe get a JV partner? What would you say as advice on how they could approach that, whether it's in an email or calling somebody, something? What would be a good approach that they could go and connect with a person?
First of all, what industry are they in? Hypothetically.
Well, these people are offline marketers or online marketers, so they're gonna be contacting somebody in their industry. Say they want to partner with somebody that has a
okay. So they're selling information.
Let's just say they're selling services. You're good at that. So let's say there's someone who has offline clients and they sell social media or SEO or something like that.
Okay, and they're trying to find a JV partner with a chamber of commerce or a local organization they can get deals from.
Right. They have somebody that has that audience that they're trying to get to, and they need to connect with that individual. What would be an approach?
Okay, here's why I'm asking those questions. It depends on.
No, I appreciate it.
If I am going, let's use this example. If I'm looking for a JV partner in the internet marketing space to do a webinar, I am going to make a phone call to that guy because nobody else is doing that. Everyone else is sending emails, right? If I'm looking to connect with a lawyer, I'm going to visit him. Why? Because everyone else is doing phone calls and emails, right? If I find an industry like a doctor where everybody's doing phone calls and visiting, but nobody's emailing, I'm going to send them an email. Or I'm going to send them something through the mail. So the whole point of connecting with people, step number 1 is getting in front of them. The way you get in front of them is you do it differently than everybody else. So if everyone's sending emails, you call. If everyone's calling, you visit. If everyone's visiting, you do something else. You call or you email or whatever. The next thing you want to do is you just want to open up the conversation with, I know we don't know, say the obvious. I know we don't know each other. I know we have no history, but I feel like if we actually came together and put something together, we could work great together and create something that our audiences will both love. That's pretty much my word for word script on a JV call.
Excellent. And then just the conversation goes from there?
Right. And you have to learn, let me word this carefully. You have to be able to present things in a way that sometimes might not be the way they really are. Did you get that or no?
Right. I know what you're saying. Right. Yeah.
Okay, so let me give you an example. When I sold cars, the first day I sold cars, right? Day number 1. Sold 4 cars the first day. Guy walks in, and I don't remember the exact conversation that we were having, but one of the things that I said to him was, I said, I'm able to get you these prices and this deal on this car because I am one of the largest salespeople in this area. So I'm able to get that, this deal, and nobody else is really able to get that I know of. Now, I didn't say to him, this would be a lie. I didn't say I'm the number one salesman in New York, number one salesman in the country. I said my area. Now, in that specific instance, my area, I meant my desk, right? So I'm creating the image of me being this massive thing when really it's my first day and I haven't even sold a car yet. So I'm doing the same thing with a JV partner. I'm saying things like that our audiences will both love. Well, my audience could be 3 people. It could be my family.
Right.
I'm not saying, see, here's the mistake people make. They'll say, I have a list of 10,000 people when they have a list of 500 people, right? Or they scrape it off Google. Or they just outright lie.
Right.
I just say, I want to come together with you and create something that both of our audiences will love. That could be whoever. Could be my Facebook friends. Could be anybody. So there's never a win-win. Somebody is always going to win the side of a deal. There's never a win-win situation. Somebody always comes out on top. So you have to create it as if it were a win-win, as close as to possible. You have to give something in the relationship to get something back. It doesn't always have to be equal. It never usually is. But that's the best way to do it. Is if you can get in front of them, though. Most of the time, especially in the JV world, if you can get in front of them, most of the time it's pretty easy to get them to say yes.
Interesting. Okay. No, it's a great piece of advice because I know there's a lot of people that are afraid to reach out. So. Well,
because they're not reaching out the right way and they're not getting responses. If somebody sends me an email for a JV thing, I'm not going to respond. I'm probably never going to read it.
Right.
And also, if they call me on Skype, I'm not going to answer. Because I don't know who they are. But if they send me a message on Facebook, you're going to get my attention.
I wonder who does that. Well, that's how I get a hold of you.
Isn't that a perfect example? And I wasn't even thinking that. I was thinking about somebody else who sent me a message the other day that I mailed for their launch yesterday. But yeah, that's a perfect example. You sent me a message on Facebook talking about this podcast. Yeah. I was like, yeah, man, whenever. Love doing interviews.
Yeah, and I just kind of introduced. I connected with you, asked to connect with a friendship, and told you, obviously I really did buy your products and I really do like them. So when I said that, I was being honest. But you got right back to me, and shoot, I sent you the link and you scheduled the appointment right away. So yep. It was awesome.
And you have to do it. You have to do a little research. Research is probably the wrong word. That's just me. Right? Someone else, it could be if you message them on Facebook, then they're not going to respond. And if you message them on Skype, they will. So you kind of have to see what works for that particular person. For me, it just happens to be Facebook because I like the fact that I can click on somebody's picture. I didn't do this to you, but I do this to some people. I like the fact that I can click on somebody's picture and I can see who they are in 5 seconds.
Right. You can scroll through and see, do they have other friends? Did they just set the account up? You can get a little...
Right. Because, as you know, and I'm sure a lot of people listen know, we get messages from people who created their account yesterday and they're selling us the Forex stuff and everything. And I don't want to talk to those people. Oh, yeah. So I like the fact that I could see the person right away the second they write me a message.
Yep, I agree.
And also, by the way, too, one more thing about the JV thing. That's also the benefit in the internet marketing space of the telephone. If you call somebody to do a JV relationship with them, you instantly separate yourself from everybody else.
Oh, absolutely.
On the telephone, I'm talking about. Not on Skype, not on Facebook. If you call someone on the telephone, instantly separate yourself from everybody else.
Yeah, that's huge. People don't even talk on the telephone to their family or friends even. It's always a text or something. So you totally set yourself apart from everybody.
Yep. And that's step number 1. You got to get in front of them.
Right.
And the way to get in front of them is separate yourself.
Now, what's one of your biggest regrets that you had business-wise? And what did you learn from it?
Well, I was in the stock business in Long Island. I have a lot of regrets. What's that?
No, just name something that was big and that you you've learned a lesson from and it's helped you
Oh, I got
So
a
what you're
really
doing
good
now
one.
today.
This ruined my life for like 3 years. Not really, but it
Great.
was pretty bad. It was rough. I had to do a lot of like crazy stuff to get around it.
Yeah, this will be a good example.
I listen to terrible advice for most people, which is don't worry about it, just go do it and figure it out later. Just take action, take action, take action. I listen to that advice, which is terrible advice. And I got a product called Guru Assassin from a guy named Johnny Andrews, who was an awesome guy. He didn't give me that advice, somebody else did. Great guy, great product, great training, and I literally followed his advice on a WSO word for word. And I launched the product, teach people what I know, which is generating leads from the internet, which is what I was teaching car salespeople at the time, from Craigslist. Sold like $17,000 in 5 days. First product I ever did, first product I ever created, written in an hour. But I didn't understand how the payments worked. So what was happening was I was still working at I was building my consulting business at the time, and I was traveling around training car salespeople and everything. And I was getting refund requests and support issues and stuff. So I sent a video out. I put it on the thread of the WSO, and I was like, listen, I can't answer all your support questions. So here's what I want you to do. If you have a support question, email me here. If you have a refund request, don't email me. Just dispute it in PayPal, and I'll handle them all at one time when I get home. PayPal account was shut down in like 2 days.
Yeah.
Blacklisted from the site. They had my name, address, social security number. So I spent, to be honest with you, the only reason why I do what I do now with partners all the time is because I have no way to take payments through that processor, through Warrior Plus, without having running it through someone else's PayPal account.
Oh, wow.
If I didn't have that issue, I'm giving away half of my money because of that one mistake that I made. Because listen, I don't want to talk bad. Cameron's a great friend of mine, and Lee is all the people that I work with, I'm friends with everyone that I work with. And I hate to brag, which usually sets me up for a bragging moment. But I think it kind of shows who's who when you get on the sales page, when you get on the back of the training. I mean, especially the offline stuff. The online stuff I don't really know that well, but the offline stuff, there's a separation. And I don't need anybody to do that with me. But I can't take payments unless I do it with somebody else.
Wow.
So yeah, that was a mistake that I made, and that was a regret that I have, because I should have not listened to the advice of just take action, take action, take action, figure it out later, because that caused a big problem. And I literally lost millions of dollars because of that.
Huge.
Because I've been giving half my money away for the last 9 years.
Right. Oh, man. What are you currently doing now that scares you and is making you stretch?
I'm taking a corporate training program that I had for years, training salespeople, but I sold it to businesses, and it was basically like a licensing thing. I would come in and set it up the first time, and then they would use it to train all their people. I'm currently in the process of taking that, and I want to try to sell it to individual salespeople as opposed to selling it to companies. And that's different because I never really did that before. So
great. And that's something you're currently working on right now?
Yeah. And that's a business thing. I mean, personal life, I got stuff that scares me all the time.
No.
I'm raising a 9-year-old. That's enough.
Yeah, I raised 3 boys, man. My youngest is 19. He'll be 20 next month.
Is it true that boys are easier, though? I mean, I'm done. I'm not having any. If I have any more kids, I'm moving to Africa and changing my name. It ain't happening.
Yeah, I absolutely think so.
I have one 9-year-old girl. She's good, so that's it. But yeah, I mean, that's running a business and parenting and all that stuff. It's challenging.
It is. It's huge. Now, I saw a couple videos that you did where you were reading books. I don't know. Are you big on reading at all, Kenny, or?
Big on it? No, not really. I mean, okay. I do read.
I was just wondering if you had a couple books, leaving from something that you read a while back, because I saw the video and I know the 2 books there.
Crush It was probably one of them, because that's the only book I ever put on a video, I think.
You did Crushing It, and you did the 4-Hour Work Week.
Did I really?
Yeah, I think I saw that. It was in a video there. But it's funny because I bought Crushing It just the other day because you recommended it. Because I've seen it before, and I thought, is this really worth getting or not? And then I saw your video and how you read about it.
That had to be a long time ago.
It was.
I walked away from that whole deal a long time. It's a good book. I'm not going to lie. It's a good book. It's not even on my mind if you're asking me what books I recommend people read, though.
No, that's how I want to find out. What are 1, 2, 3 books?
The one that I would start off with, if you're a business person and you're in the spot where you're trying stuff. I mean, is that like most of your audience? Like they're trying stuff and they're not like kind of catching on?
Right. They're people that are they're trying to do it part-time, or they're still struggling to make the connection of,
right.
getting
The number
off
one,
the ground. So
there's two books that I would recommend. The first one,
okay.
and they're not going to be anything that's on anyone else's list. The first one's Lone Survivor by Marcus Luttrell. And the second one is Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink.
Oh, yes, Jocko.
Two Navy
I
SEALs.
saw that book.
Okay. The Extreme Ownership is going to teach you to take personal responsibility for your issues. Stop blaming the product. Stop blaming the process. Stop blaming the salesman. Stop blaming the vendor. You're the problem. That book's going to teach you that. Lone Survivor is going to teach you what a bad day is really like. And it's going to give you perspective. Because when you're stuck on a mountain in Afghanistan after you watch 4 of your friends die with bullet holes all over you and no clothes on and Taliban surrounding you, that's a crappy day.
Yeah, definitely.
And it was a good book because it was action, it was fun, whatever. But really, that's what I got out of it. Like, I think my days are rough because I got to answer support. This dude was crawling around a mountain, surrounded by people that wanted to kill him for 4 days. No water, no food, nothing.
That's intense. I love in one of your interviews that I saw that you were talking about whenever you get frustrated or something like that, you like to take a drive on on the bridge or something, or one of the freeways by you?
Oh, yeah, I do this
rush hour.
Yes, I do it all the time. I do it more often now because I actually drive my daughter my daughter's in school now, so I have to drive her every morning. Or not every morning, but 3 days a week. But yeah, if I ever am having a really bad day, what I do is I go out on the Long Island Expressway, which is a major highway here on Long Island, and I go out at 5 o'clock, and I look at all the people in the cars, and I just say to myself, these people are driving to a place they hate, or they're driving home from a place they hate, probably to a family that hates them, and I just go through that whole thing, and it just, again, it gives me perspective. My day is not as bad as I think it is, and yours probably isn't either, the audience, right? I think that people tend to make things worse than they are, and they tend to make things better than they are, and I also know this for a fact, that people love to take credit for the good, but they run from the bad. And that's a big problem.
I agree.
That's a big problem. I said before that I always think that all my sales videos and webinars are going to fail. When they do, and they do sometimes, when they do, I am the first one to say, that's my fault. Like, the sales are not coming in, if conversion numbers are not there, that's my deal.
Right.
But I'm also the first one to say when it hits 20%, you're looking at the guy that did it.
But that's huge what you just said there. You're taking responsibility for the good and the bad. Whatever happens, whatever the outcome, it's you.
Right.
There's no one else to point the finger to.
Right. You can't blame your boss, or you can't go to a job interview and say, oh, the boss is a jerk because he didn't hire me, and then go to the next job interview and get hired and say, I'm the best interviewer ever. That's being a hypocrite. Right? Either you got to take personal responsibility for both sides of it, or you take personal responsibility. You don't take any. And then you're just blowing in the wind.
Definitely. Now, I want to switch some gears here real quick on here, Kenny. Let's go a little bit on the marketing side. I know we kind of dabbled some on it with sales and stuff like that, but not a lot, but there's listeners out there that aren't doing the offline or something, and they want to do more of the online type. They're trying to get, whether supplemental income or they're trying to go full-time on there. And a lot of people struggle. There's all the shiny object syndrome, a lot of crappy products that we talked about that are out there. What would you tell them is the best way to start if they're trying to start to do something online to generate an income?
What I suggest they do, this is going to sound really strange, but what I suggest they do is I suggest they go to whatever marketplace they buy from. It could be ClickBank, JVZoo, Warrior Plus, whatever. Find a product. Actually, you know what? I'm going to say stay away from Warrior Plus. Go to JVZoo or ClickBank. Find a product on there that's converting really well from a vendor who has history of converting like crazy in that marketplace. Then what I suggest you do is you buy every single thing from one of their products and you record the entire process. Then you delete the products from your computer and you never open them because they're all garbage. Then you copy the sales process that person just put you through and you implement it on something that you can provide value with.
Love it.
And the only reason why I'm
reverse
telling you to stay
engineering.
away from Warrior Plus is because I would be the guy that you would copy. And I don't want to seem like I'm trying to push you into one of my things, because I'm going to tell you, I want you to buy. I'm not telling you to buy it because I need the money or somebody else. I'm telling you to do it so you can copy. Russell Brunson teaches this too. It's called funnel hacking. You take the process and you just duplicate the process. And it's important to realize that you don't do that for, if somebody has a history of one product that did really well, don't do it, because they could have got lucky. But if they did it 7, 8, 9, 10 times in the past and they're killing it every time, they know something that you don't know. They're doing something that you're not doing. So record it, Camtasia, ScreenFlow, whatever, record it, and then just duplicate that with something that you can provide value with. Now, as far as traffic goes, we talked a little bit about that with the JV thing. We talked a little bit about it with Facebook, but we didn't really get into that too much. If you have a higher ticket thing, low ticket stuff is not worth doing unless you have a super awesome system that's like unbreakable. If you have a higher ticket thing, I don't really see the point of doing it online. Hang on a second. We got to edit that out because I have something ringing.
No problem. Make a note of it here.
And I have no idea what it is. It's just ringing on my computer. Can you hear that or no?
No, I don't hear it. I heard a little like buzz, and that was it. But I don't hear any ringing.
Oh, you know what it was? It was a Skype call. No, whatever. I logged out of Skype anyway. I forgot.
See,
where.
There you go. You don't answer them.
What were we talking about? Totally forgot.
You were talking about doing getting traffic, and if it's a high ticket.
Oh, right. Okay. So if it's a high ticket thing, I don't really. There's two things that can happen. Either you take it offline and you do it that way, and you drive offline traffic to an internet funnel, right? Or you pay for the traffic knowing that the high-end thing is going to convert at a certain number. So you have to assume that you're going to convert better than 1%. So if it converts and works and ROIs positively at 1%, I would pay for the traffic and run it. Now, I'm in a different financial situation than a lot of people, so I could afford to do that. If you can't afford to do that, then I suggest you go offline for your first couple sales and then reinvest that money into paid stuff. Paid traffic is the best way to go. JV partners are a ripoff. Paid traffic is the best way to go.
Now, when you say go offline, is it to sell like a service or something, or just
if you give me an example, I could walk through it with you. But yeah, that I would start offline, and I would drive it to an internet funnel. That's what I would do.
Oh, you're saying you would get your traffic offline and drive it online?
Right. I'm talking about like if I had no money and I'd start from scratch. The first thing that I would do is I would use whatever money I have to get a funnel that I know works, which is what I outlined before when I said you go to a marketplace and you buy something and you record the process, then you delete all the stuff that they gave you because it's garbage. You just copy the funnel itself. If I had no money to buy traffic and I had no people that I could come to for JV relationships and I had no list, the first thing that I would do is, let's say it's an SEO product for $47. I would go and I would pitch that as if I was pitching a $2,000 service, but I would lead them through an internet funnel. But I would use offline tactics to get them there.
Oh, okay.
So I would cold call people saying, hey, we have a free book that we're giving out that teaches you how to generate more leads for your business. Go to this website and download it. And I would lead them through the funnel offline, manually. Because I have no money to start. I have no list. I have no connections. I have to hustle to get it done.
Right.
Love it. Listen, you either have to work for it or pay for it.
Exactly.
There's no other way around it. Either you're working for it or you're paying for it. And in the beginning, everyone's working for it.
Right. Because you got more time than you got money. So you're definitely. Now, as far as sales letters, Kenny, when you're pretty good, I know you write stuff, it converts, it's great. If somebody's writing their own and they can't afford to do a copywriter, we're talking about money here again, and they're writing it, what are one or two things they should focus on that really, because there's so many things in a sales letter, but there's only a few key things. For example, like the headlines, bullet points, offers, guarantees. What would you recommend if someone's going to do their own sales letter? What are the things that they should spend the most time on getting right in that sales letter?
The offer and the headline.
Make it convert. Okay.
The rest of the stuff is pretty much garbage. And to be honest with you, I have no process for writing a sales letter at all. I
Really?
can't even
You don't have
really
no template or
teach.
nothing?
No, I have nothing. I really can't even teach how I do it. Because I just sit down. Like a lot of people will say, create the offer first. I just sit down and I start with the headline. That makes the most sense to me. Like it's at the top.
Right.
So I start with the headline and I literally just start writing. And that's it. And video sales letters is the same thing. I don't really have a template for it. I don't depend on the slides to do the selling for me. I treat it as if I was calling somebody on the phone, basically. And I use, if you listen to the video that I just did, the 251, you'll see that it's much more tonality and pace in the way that I'm saying things. Because that could have been a terrible sales video if someone that couldn't present did it. Right? So it's much more about the presentation value of it. I think you need to have some entertainment, some humor in there as well. But yeah, the offer is the most important thing. Headline is the most important thing. The offer is the second, and then the rest of it is just filler garbage. If you,
I don't know. I think what did it for me in that video was that little poop emoji. That's what really got me.
Yeah, and that was just something that I was like, hey, let me just give it a shot. Like, I don't know.
No,
I put a
I mean,
picture of me and Santa in there, cutting my hair. Like, it was just so weird. Like, I just throw stuff in. Like, there's no rhyme or reason to it, really.
I like the TED Talk example.
The TED Talk was another one. I read that on Quora. Someone was making fun of a guy for saying he did a TED Talk, and he kind of laid that out, so I stole that from somebody else. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's the kind of stuff. Like, I do whatever. I think us versus them is huge. I think that's a really good way to sell stuff. I use it a lot. I've used it my whole life, pretty much. In everything that I sold, I use that.
What about now in email marketing? Would you say just focus on the opening subject line, or what would be the keys on when someone's doing
email marketing is very similar to a telephone call. It's almost exactly the same. Believe it or not, it's weird how close it is. You have to focus on the main goal of every single line. So
really? Okay.
Yeah, so the main goal, like when I write a phone pitch, my phone pitches are all template based. They're all the same pretty much. But when you open up a phone pitch, the main thing is don't get hung up on. Right? The first thing you need to do on an email is get them to open it. It's no different, really. You're getting through a gatekeeper. You're getting them to open it. So after that happens, first of all, what's the goal of the email? Is it to get them to click a link? Is it to get them to reply? Is it to get them to fill out a survey or opt into something? What's the goal of the email? What's the goal of the call? Same thing. Never switch once you commit. So once you commit to a singular goal of something, never switch it in the middle. That's death for a salesperson, so never do that. And then after that, the only goal is to keep them in the process. That's it. Same thing with the phone, same thing with the email. And it's probably the same thing for a sales letter too, but I haven't gotten it down to a science like that yet. With email and the telephone, I have.
Yeah, but I think what you're doing is you're throwing in your sales letter just basically subconsciously what you're doing on the phone. It flows.
Right. I definitely am. But what I'm saying, when I write a sales letter, when I write an email, there is purpose behind every single thing that I do. Nothing is done by accident. Same thing with the webinar. Okay. When I write a sales letter, I sit down and I write like I'm writing a journal entry or something.
Interesting.
I don't even look it over. I don't reread it. I don't nothing.
No, really?
No, I don't do any of that. I write it. Like the spelling is off. Send it off to a graphic designer. Have them put the page together, and I shoot the video.
Love it. So simple. That's one of the things I like is your products. You really break it down to simple. There's none of this super flashy stuff. People are so worried about the funnels and how intricate and all these crazy things and these fancy pages, and
it's experience.
For me, I don't think that matters though. It's the message and the way you deliver. Don't you think more important than the flashy?
Yeah, it definitely is. I think that people worry about that though because they haven't experienced some of the things that I've experienced in the marketplace. Yeah. I think that's really why. I know that's the main reason.
I know you talked before, and I think I heard it. I forget where I heard it from you on there, Kenny. But what are best times to send emails to your list? Isn't there certain times that you should and shouldn't be emailing your list? No?
It depends.
As far as, times a day, not like often.
No, because I can give you – listen, if you have a list of lawyers and you email them at 11 o'clock in the morning, they're all going to be in court. If you have a list of internet marketers and if you email them at 11 in the morning, they're probably launching products or getting ready. That's the launch time, right? So if you have a list of JV partners, don't email them at 11 in the morning. Email them at 11 at night. If you have lawyers, I work with a lot of lawyers. If you have lawyers, you should know your audience, and you should know that lawyers generally go to lunch they go to court from 9 to 11, they go to lunch from like 12 to 4, then they go back to their office and they take consultations until 7 or 8 at night. You should also know that the secretary goes home at 5, so if you're going to call them, the best time to call them is around 6, because that's before the consultation starts and after the secretary goes away. So if you're going to email them, you should email them at the same time. There's no set time. It depends on the audience.
Right. And especially with online, there's really none, because you're tapping people from all over the world, basically, if you're getting a list.
And it depends. It depends. If you're trying to reach PTA moms, don't email them at 5. They're cooking dinner. They're doing homework. Email them at noon. If you're trying to get an accountant, don't email them at noon. That's a terrible time to email them. So it depends on the audience. The number one thing in selling is you got to know your audience.
Yep, that's so key. It's mentioned, and I think people say, yeah, I understand that, but I think you're just stressing right now how important that is.
Right. You have to know your audience, and you have to know them like you have to be like a stalker. It's like I get creepy sometimes. Like it's got to be like weird. If you're researching an audience and if it doesn't come across your head like I might be doing something wrong right now, if you didn't get to that level, you're not deep enough. You have to know them. True, like I spy on. Like you have to know. You have to know them intimately.
I think it was Dan Kennedy that said that he would be marketing to different groups and stuff, and one of them I think were like doctors or dentists and stuff, and he got so good that people actually thought he was a doctor or a dentist because he knew that audience so well, the terminology, the language, like you said, their schedules, everything. He knew it so well that they thought he was a doctor training them.
You got to know that stuff, and the easiest way to do it is, first of all, to just screw it up a whole bunch of times. That's the easiest way to do it, and the second easiest way to do it is to ask them. See, I usually do it just by screwing it up most of the time. I call a lawyer at 9 in the morning, they're not there. I call them at 10, they're not there. I call them at 11, they're at lunch. Keep calling them every hour until I find them, and then finally I develop a pattern. And I know when they're there. And one other thing, too, I mentioned something before about, it was something about copywriting, I think, and I just wanted to clear it up quickly. I said something about one of the things about the flashiness of a sales letter, they don't know because they haven't experienced what I've experienced in the marketplace. I just want to explain that really quickly so your audience understands. What I mean by that is I've launched products, and this previous one that I just did was an example of this, where a lot of times when you write copy, you're stealing people's stuff and making it fit your own thing. Dan Kennedy wouldn't say that. He would say it's, with swipe file, whatever. You're stealing people's stuff and you're making it your own. That's what you're doing. That's what it is. So we do that a lot, right? So I took the template from another launch that was really successful, and that's where I kind of started off. Okay, so I'm at a fishing seminar Thursday night. We launched the product on Tuesday. We launched the product on Wednesday. I was at a fishing seminar Thursday night. I get a call from Shane Nathan, who's the president of Warrior Plus. He runs Warrior Plus. I don't know what his title is. And he's like, yeah, you're a WSO today, obviously. And he's like, but we have a problem with your sales page. I'm like, what is it? He's like, well, the whole thing is great, but the last 3 paragraphs are from another launch that launched 2 months ago. I forgot to take out the other guy's copy on the bottom of the sales page, and we've already done 1,000 sales, and nobody said a word.
Oh, man. Crazy.
And that's happened many times. I've had webinars where I had a template I was selling an offline thing, and I went to an online thing, and I used the template for the offline thing, and I just switched it around, and I left a slide in that says, you're going to get my cold calling script, you're going to get my, and it's a list building thing. And I'm just like, oh yeah, you're not going to get any of that stuff. That was just a mistake. I screwed that up, and we'll just move on.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that just kind of proves right there that people, that part of the letter it's not going to make or break the sale.
I don't even think people read it.
Basically. That's what I'm saying. They don't get to that point. So most of them probably don't read it. If they do, they gloss over it.
Yep.
And that's why I like what you said on there with the headline and the offer. If you focus on those things, the stuff in the middle doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah, I do think video is really important. You have to have a strong video sales letter.
You think better? You think everybody should focus more on that than the written letter?
Most of my products are just video. Most of them it's just a VSL with a button. Most of them.
Yep.
The one we just did is a and we're actually I'm going to do a little experiment. I got to convince Cameron to do it, but basically what I want to do is I want to do a video sales letter with a good headline and a buy button, and I want to write like 2 paragraphs of copy, and then I just want to take like the stock text that they used to build websites with. I want to take that and put it through the rest of the page, and then the last 2 paragraphs I'm going to write, and then just put a buy button at the end, and I want to see if people say anything about it, because I don't think most people will. I don't think they even look at it.
I'd love it. That'd be so cool.
Be interesting to see what how it would differ in conversion rates. Because I honestly, if you throw a couple pictures in there, I don't think people will even look at it.
That would be so cool to see, because it's so true. That there's a minute people that read every single thing on there, and most of them they've already had their decision made.
Well, if the person reads every line of your sales letter, he's going to refund.
Yeah, like you went back to it. It's going to be a troublemaker.
Yeah, they're definitely going to refund, because they will find something in your sales letter. And they will say, okay, in line 370, you said this, and in video 6 at 5 minutes and 34 seconds, you said the exact opposite. It's like, oh, whatever, dude. Like, I don't know what to tell you. You're right. Whatever.
Are you big on using social media for any of your marketing?
I don't even do it. Oh, well, paid ads, yes.
Okay. Paid ads?
Yeah, paid ads.
What are? So if someone's going to be doing it, what would you say? What were the platforms that they should focus if someone's got some money to spend? Obviously, Facebook, probably.
Yeah, that's
right?
the only one that I know how to use.
The only one?
Yeah, that's the only one.
You never did anything with Instagram or anything?
We do Instagram, but I think it's just done through Facebook. Well, like it's connected together. So I think if we choose to use Instagram with our Facebook ads, we can. To be honest with you, I know that I own a Facebook ad agency. I don't run any of the ads at all. All I do is sell it. Because again, I'm not an entrepreneur. I'm a salesman. So it is what it is. But I do run a lot of my own Facebook ads to like webinars and stuff. I don't use Instagram for that. But that's the only platform that I use, because I kind of know it a little bit, and the targeting should be, in my opinion, illegal, because you can pretty much do whatever you want, find out anything about somebody. So that's something that I like. But yeah, that would be the platform that I use. As far as like other kind of like social media, like growing a platform and stuff, I don't believe in any of that stuff.
Yeah, because I
don't even believe in building an email list, to be honest with you. And I know that's very controversial.
Really?
No, it's garbage. Flat out lie.
So what? Expand on that. That intrigues me. I need to hear this.
Well, just do the numbers. Get a 20% open rate. Get 1,000 people on an email list, right? 20% open rate's 200 people. You get a 10% click-through rate. That's 20 people. What's your conversion rate on an average sales letter? 3%. You're not even making a sale. You have 1,000 people on a list. You know how hard it is to build for the newbie to build a 1,000-person email list? It's almost impossible. Wow. Especially if they have no money. So if you just do, the problem is that most people don't do the math, right? 20% open rate, right. 200 people. 10% click-through rate, 20 people. 3% conversion rate, you're not making a sale. If you just work the numbers, it don't work. And I also know people, Mike is one of them, who had millions of people on an email list, and it's all garbage. It's worthless. And a lot of people were sold the whole thing, oh, you're building an asset, it's going to be the biggest, strongest thing in a business. It's just not true, because it gets burnt out very, very quickly. And the other thing, too, is that I could show you better numbers by cold calling people than I can in an email list. And your cold calling list is already built.
Wow.
20% open rate, I can get through 20% of secretaries easily. That's not a problem. I can get 20% of the people I can dial on the phone. That's not a problem. 10% click-through rate, I'm going to get more than 10% of my pitches off. And I'm going to close way more than 3% of the people that I talk to. So the numbers are better. Your time is better spent on the telephone, and the list is already built for you. You don't have to worry about people opting in, and you don't have to worry about giving something away, and you don't have to worry about building it.
Right. And you think somebody could easily, with some training and some time, get up to your status?
Not even training and time. It will take an hour.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's like not... I've taken people off of a Walmart register and had them closing... I'm talking about appointments, filling a pipeline, right? I've had them putting appointments on the books in 45 minutes. My pitch is like 40 seconds.
Now, is this going back? Because I want to talk about this, Kenny. You have here your results-based selling system. Is this anything based on this that you're offering?
What I was just mentioning was booking appointments. But yes, that's a process that I've been selling for years, but I've been selling it to corporate clients. And now I'm in the process of transitioning to selling that to individual salespeople. So it's going to be a little bit different, but basically the same thing. So the results-based process basically this is how it works. You book an appointment, you cold prospect, you book an appointment. There's a very specific pitch to do that. Okay. The next thing you do at the appointment is you sell a high-ticket thing and you close a low-ticket thing. Confusing, but we can answer the questions on that if you want. After that, you provide like crazy and prove like crazy, and then you flip them over. Then you provide again and preserve the deal.
Okay. So give an example what you would be going in with a high ticket.
Yep, I'll give you the example that we run at Lead Loop right now. We book appointments, cold calling people. We ask them 3 questions. How long you're advertising on the internet right now, right? Yes. Okay. How's that going for you? Tell me a little bit about it. Sucks. It's great. Whatever. The last question we ask is, let me ask you this. If I was able to show you a way where you can get 20 to 30 new leads per month without having to spend a dime more on advertising, you'd at least listen to me, right? Yes. Okay, great. Then we book the appointment. Okay. Then we send them propaganda. It's a sequence of emails, text messages, voicemails, videos that we send them out. We show up to the appointment. Now, there's a difference between selling and closing. 2 different things. Okay. We sell a $1,500 a month product, a service. It's our Facebook ad management service that we have. Ad spend is included in the $1,500. Okay. So we're selling that the entire time. This is a very important lesson for the people to understand. We're selling that the whole time. Okay, I'm saying the price of the product, price of the service is $1,500. No, it's too much money. I rebut on $1,500. Rebut 4 or 5 times. I get all the way down to the end, and then I say, you know what, listen, my goal here is just to prove myself. Whether you start off at $1,500 or whatever, the percentages are going to be the same. You're going to be able to see a result. I just want to get you a result to prove to you that I can do what I'm telling you I can do. So how about we do this? How about you pay for ad spend for 10 days? It's $50. Okay, it's nothing. It's $50. It's not a big deal. And that will give us the opportunity to show you that what we do is real. The whole goal of that call is to close the $50 thing. If they say yes to $1,500, we hang up. We don't even take the deal. They have to get
Really?
Yeah, we don't take it. They have to get the $50 trial first. But the thing is, though, is that what most people do is they go into that call and they try to sell the $50 thing. Close on the $1,500, default back to the $50. Key. They got to get that. Okay. Then once they're on $50, one of 2 things are going to happen. Either we're going to take that $50 10-day trial and we're going to turn it into $1,000. And if we do that, it's a closed deal. I don't even have to call the guy. Or it's going to be $50. I'm going to turn it into $100, and I'm not going to call him either because he's not going to say yes. Just that simple. And then once we get to $1,000, if we could do it on 50, we're going to be able to do it over the course of 30 days. It's not a big deal. And then we just keep the same ad over and over and over again. And we do it only for group-based businesses, by the way. We do the same ad over and over and over again. They pay us $150 for ad spend and $1,400 or $1,350 for our fee, which is basically nothing. We don't really do anything because we create the ad once and just keep it running. And that's it.
I love it. It's a great process. It sounds, like you said, it's a short, it's a 1-page?
My appointment script is maybe 10 lines. And it's not a weak appointment either. People hear that and they're like, oh, appointment. It's not. I mean, we qualify them the whole time.
Right. And how does someone go? Where can they go to get more information on this?
Well, I set up a page just for your audience that they can get my appointment script with a video of me going through it. Perfect. So that's kennycannon.com/mm. You just go there and I'll give you the video and the appointment script. You can't just take a piece of paper and just run with it. You have to listen to somebody say it. So the video is like mandatory. Believe me, I don't want to sit here and read appointment script on a video for people, but you have to listen to it being said or else you're never going to be able to do it. And I don't want people just getting my paper and saying, oh, this doesn't work, because you're saying it wrong. If you hear me say it over and over and over again, you'll be able to master the tonality and pace of the pitch, which is more important than the actual words. And if you look at the process that I take people through with results-based selling, and it's just a fancy, that's just how you sell stuff. I mean, let's just be real. I made the name up, but it's really just how you sell stuff. If you look at a car dealership, it's done the same way. You do a test drive. If they're wowed by the test drive, they're going to come in and discuss numbers. And if you could put a numbers package together for them that works for them, they're going to buy it from you. It's no different. If you come in and you do in your painter, you do an estimate, and you do a great job at that, then you're going to probably get the deal. My consulting clients don't work that way, but it's basically the same process. Everybody wants a little taste before they jump into the whole meal. Chick-fil-A was built that way. They walked around the mall with chicken. People liked the chicken. They went in and bought sandwiches. So it's
no, that's huge. I appreciate you giving that. I mean, everybody needs to check that out. Like I said, you need to follow Kenny, what he's doing. Listen to his webinars. Listen to his sales letters. See what he's doing. Like I said, I've bought his products. They're great. They're to the point. They work. There's really no fluff in there, and he knows what he's doing. So take him up on this offer. We'll have the link in the show notes. Go there. And one of the huge things, I mean, Kenny could have just said, all right, here's a script, guys, and given that away. But he took the time to do a video, which is huge because as you've seen through this call here in this interview, that the way you say things, the inflection, it's so important. You can't just read it like a robot. And Kenny is a master at this, and he's going to show you how to do it. So no matter what, everything we do is selling. We've talked about that through this interview here. We're always selling, whether it's our ideas, someone on a book to go to a movie, to help our family improve their health, whatever it is, we're always doing selling. So this is a skill that is huge, whether you're doing it for your online business, your offline business, or just in life. So take them up on that. Kenny, where else can our listeners get in touch with you? What's the best way to reach out to you?
On Facebook. You can find me on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. Most of that stuff is just family stuff or like just completely stupid stuff like fishing and my Jeep and driving over people's lawns and stuff. But I don't do business on the internet. I'm not an internet guy. So, if you want to find me on Facebook, that's cool. I accept everybody pretty much. And then I just filter out as they become jerks, which is rare, but some people do. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I do it. I'm a very traditional, old school guy. I don't like the internet. I think it's dumb. I think it's a waste of time for the most part. And but yeah, Facebook, Twitter. I love Quora because I love helping like answer questions and stuff. That's kind of fun.
Yeah, that's a good one too there. Definitely. All right, what's the closing advice you want to leave to the mindset listeners here? What would you say to them that you want to get across?
Stop lying and start selling stuff.
There you go.
And focus on building your pipeline. If you don't have people, the number one reason why businesses fail is because they don't have enough people to sell to. That's every business in the world. It doesn't matter what you do.
Yep,
one more thing.
Hey.
One more thing. If you are somebody who has customers already, if you have clients in your business, whatever it is that you sell, and you are a person who worries about those people, meaning, holy crap, I got to do this SEO call this week, or I don't want this guy to call me, or whatever. I promise you, the only reason why you're worried about that call is because you don't have somebody to take their place if they leave. Fill a pipeline. If you fill a pipeline, everyone can leave because you have others that will take their place. I never worry about losing a client because I have 10 more that will close the second I talk to them if one of them leaves.
So important.
It gets rid of all your stress in business. All of it.
Yep. Couldn't have said it better. I love it. To the point. And guys, listen to that. Keep the pipeline filled. Whatever you do, that's the key to keep on going and being successful in business. Kenny, hey, I appreciate you taking the time, bud. This has been great. You shared a lot of great information. Guys, go through this. If you didn't take notes while you were listening to this, go back and re-listen to this because Kenny shared some great stuff that you're not going to hear anywhere else. You're going to hear a lot of fluff on a lot of these calls and interviews and stuff, and Kenny doesn't do that. He bucks the system. He tells it like it is. He's talking from experience, and he shares some great information that if you apply, it's going to make a difference in your business. So listen to what he's doing. Follow him, and guys, you will get results. Kenny, thanks again,
man.
bud.
It was a lot of fun.
Appreciate your time. Guys, until next time, wish you guys a brilliant life. Take care.